once they kicked out the Scott D'Amore regime, they fired they got rid of Ann Evans, who wanted everything to go to YouTube. Their goal was to push everything to the app, and because they're pushing everything to the app, which is an Endeavor-owned property, that has helped strengthen the relationship with WWE, because the better that app does, the happier WWE's parent company Endeavor is. So I think this is all a win-win, plus all that stuff. But the app numbers have significantly increased since June, whenever they got rid of their YouTube Ultimate Insiders program. Now you're still able to get, the TV show on YouTube for, I think, whatever it is, like $1 something a month. But for the most part, everything has been pushed to the app. And I can say, as a consumer, since June, the app has been working pretty flawlessly. And I made sure to go out of my way to tell somebody that works there that, because I feel like I could be really tough on them when things go bad. So I wanted to make sure that I complimented them on how good things have been. So he says that the WWE relationship is a big part of this, and I agree. But I don't think that the success of Slammiversary, the ticket sales, had nothing to do with WWE. That was PCO. That was like a strict local promotion. That was just people showing up because of PCO. And then, of course, behind PCO and Speedball, the most over guy was Speedball, or was Joe Hendry. So I don't think anybody bought the pay-per-view to watch the No Quarter Catch Crew. I feel pretty confident in saying that the pay-per-view success had nothing to do with No Quarter Catch Crew. And I had this conversation last night because Joe Hendry showed up on a NXT house show last night in Florida, and he was on. They did a really great video package on Joe Hendry this week on NXT, and in fact, you got to get to know Joe Hendry on that video package, and that was so much more effective than anything TNA's ever done with Hendry, as far as getting to know Hendry the character and Hendry the person, and finding out what his goals are and what his why is. We have just not gotten that. They did NXT. Look, they're just better at this stuff, right? TNA is behind them in this category, and NXT fans are now able to get more behind Joe Hendry because they know a lot more about him. Okay, and so they promoted for Great American Bash coming up on night 1 that he's going to be doing a concert. I get the feeling on night 2, the following week, he's going to have a match. So he's going to be very much involved in NXT going forward. And it would have made me realize, and BQ and I had talked about this before, that Anthem does not care one way or the other if they get NXT talent on their show, because the NXT talent don't add anything to TNA. They don't. What they like is Joe Hendry and the Rascalz and Jordan Grace going on WWE television, being made to look like stars, and then coming back to TNA with buzz. And that's happening. That is absolutely happening. Joe Hendry is more over now because he was on NXT television, and they're making him look like a star. That video package that they released on social media is helping him become a bigger star in TNA. Is absolutely helping him. I don't think No Quarter Cash Crew did any business for TNA whatsoever. I don't think that Izzy Dame or Tatum Paxley or anything like that did any business for TNA. What did the business for TNA is Joe Hendry, Jordan Grace, and the Rascalz getting featured on NXT television and being made to look like stars. And that, I think that's been a really good thing, and that's been a net positive for the company. So when people are questioning, like, whoa, TNA's, what is TNA getting out of this? They're getting a lot out of it. And then what is NXT getting out of it? NXT is now kind of a hotter show because of the inclusion of TNA, because they have, people are always tuning into NXT to see who's going to show up next. That has been helpful to them. So that's been a mutually beneficial thing. And then if you want to just talk about matches, right now, TNA is 7-3 over WWE talent. 7 wins versus 3 losses, right? 2 of those losses were from Zach Wentz. So, and then of course, Jordan Grace lost to Roxanne Perez. So, I think this whole thing is awesome. I think it rules. It has been working significantly. So anybody that doesn't understand that, you might want to just sit out the conversation, because if you don't like the relationship for TNA, but you're not actually like watching NXT or TNA, you just think that TNA is getting screwed. You really don't know what you're talking about. You need to just sit out the conversation, because you're not the things that you say are not smart, and you're just not like a quality thinker. So